to play you a new song off the new record, and I wrote this in Lubbock, Texas, and we had so much fun there with Kimmy Rhodes and Trudy and the wonderful Buddy Holly Foundation helping to bring a bunch of songwriters together. And I wrote this with Gabe Rhodes and Cooper Dickerson, two brilliant writers, and they're supposed to be playing guitar in this. You just have to imagine them. It's called Everywhere You Go. Hold on, I have to turn on my special effects. Here we go. Our life and times, we ride the waves. We stumble blind from the cradle to the grave. Truth gets tangled up in lies and washed right down the drain. Roses grow right through the snow and the deserts flood with rain. It's crazy town from coast to coast. We dodge the streets, we dodge the ghosts. The lights are on, but no one's home. Everywhere we go, the bastards won. We lost our way. The landmarks gone like the good old days. Well, let's just lay down on the grass and watch the sky above, so I can thank my lucky stars that I got you to love. Don't lose hope, there's some way out. It's either up or else it's down, but the road less traveled is a freeway now. Everywhere we go. Our life and times, we ride the wave. We stumble blind from the cradle to the grave. Life is hard, life is hard, life's unfair, but it's all uphill, but I don't care, as long as I know you are there. Everywhere we go.
Oh, Beth, that's just I was ready for it. No, I mean, you and I have known each other for, gosh, I mean, so many years now, and I value our friendship so much, I can't even tell you. And I've watched you go across many, many different styles of music and many different experimentations and ideas and sounds and everything else. I mean, I remember around the Americana Music Awards, in the very early days of the awards in Nashville, when you were doing one of the showcases, it was about 9:30 in the morning. And effectively what you were doing is you were playing an orchestra of water glasses, weren't you? I mean, it was like, how many did you have? You had about 60 or 70 glasses, and you were
well, I wasn't the one playing that. I was there. Yes, that was Gabe Rhodes, who was one of the writers on that last song. Gabe Rhodes had done this beautiful production of an old song. What's the name of it? What was the project now? It's like I don't have that in my head, but you know, the guy that wrote. It was
Stephen Foster, the music of Stephen Foster,
yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, and they'd given me these old, like, crunchy little recordings, and it was like, and there was this song called, what was the name of it? Abide. It's been so long. But it was really fast. It was like a carnival song, and we slowed it way down. And he said, we should do an harmonium or something. And he was telling me about how people who used to play these used to get lead poisoning because they were playing these lead glasses. And it that's the world we're in. You just the next thing is the next thing. It's
it was beautiful. And
yeah. Sorry,
seeing you
there's a
through
little
the
delay.
years, Beth, I know there's a little delay, isn't there? But seeing you
Yeah.
through the years, go through then. I mean, obviously the album with Sand and Water on it, Deeper Still, songs like Every December Sky, but you've drifted into more spiritual music at certain times, more orchestral music at certain times. It really has been a beautiful musical journey that you continue to take, because this album, again, it's a different sound for Beth Nielsen Chapman.
Yeah, this one's kind of kick-ass, raw. I mean, we recorded it, all the vocals just live with the band. It was so much fun. It was very freeing. And, I didn't realize when I started the first day of recording, I didn't have this. I had the same headphone mix as the rest of the band, which I've never done before. And I was thinking, I better turn my vocal down, because they're not going to want to hear it as loud as I'm going to want to hear it. And by doing that, I just had to let go. And I thought, well, I'll just do the vocals later. I'm just going to have fun and play and just do the songs. And the irony of is, since I wasn't trying to get the vocals, I let go. And kind of what happens to me live when I play live, and people come up to me and go, which album has you sounding the way you sounded tonight? Where you're just kind of crazy. And I was like, well, when I play live, it's a little different than, when I'm in the studio. And I realized this is a good trick to have. Just don't worry about hearing myself perfectly. Just go with it. And so this record has this kind of fun, crazy live vibe to it. And I'm real proud of it. I'm super excited about finally coming back and playing. And, we're all going to be
Yeah,
hitting the road at the
absolutely.
same time when they let us out of our jails, but
Yes, indeed. I mean, the way you're describing that, I'm going to drop the heaviest name now, but I mean, it's when I was speaking to John Lennon in New York in 1975, when he just finished the rock and roll album, and he was describing the dynamic between him and the producer, Phil Spector. And John said he didn't want to think about anything. He wanted Phil Spector to take full responsibility, make all the decisions, because he said years and years of minute minutiae on productions, and is the song about Paul or is the song about John, or all of that kind of stuff. And he said to me,
right.
he said, I said to Phil Spector, I want to be Ronnie on this one. In other words, Ronnie Spector. Ronnie Spector was the voice. I mean, an incredible voice. And I saw her play with Southside John and the Asbury Jukes some years later in New Jersey. There was a reunion night. I'm digressing, but Ronnie had the most incredible voice, but she would always just relax and let Phil direct her. So I suppose it was that kind of thing, Beth, with Ray.
Yeah, I let go. I mean, and I've worked with some of the greatest producers, and they've all been really wonderful experiences. I mean, working with Rodney Crowell, producing me for the Sand and Water album, I was so falling apart because my husband had just died of cancer, and he really was masterful at just keeping me together and getting those performances out of me. And this was just a time where I just went, I'm just going to hand over the old reins. And Ray is such a consummate. He's an artist himself and a songwriter, and he really, really was the perfect person to make this record with. And just who could have known we would enter into the pandemic right after we cut the tracks, and it would end up taking a year and all that. But the process of just pulling myself into a space of not analyzing what I was doing as I'm doing it is the sweet spot of recording. And it's hard to get there when you're being recorded. You're like, oh, I don't want to think too much, but I'm thinking about not thinking too much. And it's like you can go, drive yourself crazy. And this was like, sorry, we're going now. And I'm like, I can't hear my vocal. Oh, you know what? I'll just take my ear off a little bit, and I'll do the vocals later. And of course, I could never, ever top them now, because they were so in the moment with the band, and the musicians all were like one big brain, and we're just like rocketing down the road. It's so much fun.
Well, Ray loves to record straight, more or less live, doesn't he? Direct from floor to tape kind of thing. And there's a lot of analog equipment in his studio, room and board, where you capture that sound, that analog, that warm analog sound. Yeah.
Yeah, and he made me realize how important an analog board is. I mean, even though, like, when I've heard all of his records that I thought were totally analog, a lot of them are not, and a lot of them are, but a lot of them are not. And you're like, well, then how come it sounds like it is? Because this board, I mean, he's going through the Neve board, and he's. You also get a huge education in engineering. I could almost hire myself out, except I wouldn't do that anymore. But he's taught me so much about sound. He's kind of like an inventor too. He's coming up with all this interesting, weird stuff all the time. I mean, I just feel like, and I remember telling my husband, I think I'm going to go with Ray. I talked to a few different wonderful producers. I'm like, I think I'm going to go with Ray. And my husband, who knows Ray, he goes, how are you ever going to get anything done between the two of you? You both talk so much. I'm like, when are you going to get anything done? So I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, I do too. And of course, you know, Ray, as well as being such an absolutely amazing, lovely person, has worked as one half of the Twang Trust through the years with Steve Earle, and more recently, obviously, with Beth, but also Lucinda Williams. In fact, the cast list of people that Ray has brought is, and I remember when a few years ago, probably about 3 years ago, when I was part of the film Wild Rose, and I was talking to Jessie, who plays the lead role, and she was asking me about, if I went to Nashville to record, you know, who should I go over there and record with? And I said, Ray Kennedy. And when I was back in Nashville later that year to cover the CMAs for Radio 2, it was exactly the time that Jessie was with Ray in his studio, and I just popped in for a few minutes just to see how they were getting on. And it was just such a lovely moment because, you know, Jessie Buckley is a phenomenal talent, and being part of the Wild Rose film, and then to see her in Nashville working with Ray, it was such a wonderful feeling, Beth.
Yeah, she's a great singer, and what an amazing actor. I got to have dinner with her at your house one time. That was so much fun to sit next to her and just pick her brain. But you know, Ray is, you know, he's worked with Lucinda all these years, and he's just done this amazing work at capturing the moment as it goes by. You know, like he captures it, and you can't recap. I mean, like, if you don't get it when it happens, you miss the window. You know, so he's so good at that. And I thought, well, I'll analyze it later, you know. And then when we went to, you know, look at it, and I tried to go in and re-sing it, and it sounded not nearly as alive. It was just, you know, so I was like, okay, that's not going to work. It just lives in it lives like one of those early Rolling Stone records, you know. There's some fun stuff on this on this new record.
I mean, it's lightning,
really
lightning in a bottle, isn't it? That's what
yeah.
So play another song for us, please, Beth. Yeah.
Oh, well, I want to play you a song that is one of my favorites on the record, and I wrote this with the wonderful Kimmy Rhodes, who you know very well, and the wonderful Mindy Smith, and I'm dedicating it to a dear friend of mine named Lynn Franklin, who I've known many, many years, as well as dedicating it to John Prine, because it's definitely inspired by him, as you'll be able to tell. It's called Walk You to Heaven. On the road that'll walk you to heaven, you can leave every burden behind, where the dust and the dirt and the memories settle all of our troubles with time. Farewell, I will see you again. I know it's not like we're saying goodbye. We will all meet again where the stars go when they tumble like jewels from the sky. On the road that'll walk you to heaven, there are mountains and valleys to cross. Take comfort and hope, 'cause the we will all meet again where the stars go when they tumble like jewels from the sky. A whisper adrift like a song through the trees. I hear you calling to me. Farewell, I will see you again. I know it's not like we're saying goodbye. We will all meet again where the stars go when they tumble like jewels from the sky. We will all meet again where the stars go when they tumble like jewels from the sky.
Oh, wow, Beth. What a beautiful... Miles and I are just in raptures with that song. That is absolutely beautiful. Beth Nielsen Chapman here on the Whispering Podcast.